This is a demo of the new Animator. So let's take a look. I'm starting off with SpriteEZanimation, and this was exported as a PNG sequence, and I converted it to sprites. So I'm just going to drag one of these guys onto the screen, and there he is. There he is. So the first thing we do is we add this SpriteEZAnimator. And the cool thing is when you have the sprite selected, it will give you some information about the states and any warnings about it. So it tells me right away, please add at least one state. So I'm going to add a state, and then we're going to call this one dance. And we're going to have to add in the frames for the dance sequence. So I'm just going to drag these in one at a time. And then if we play the game, we should be able to see him dancing. And we can experiment with the loop mode. So this one is ping pong, this is play, this one's play then pause. So at the end of the animation it will pause. You can scrub through the timeline, go through it one frame at a time. Lots of good things. Let's try adding another state. So I'm going to set states to be 2. And now this added a second state here called dance alt. But we're going to call this one sweep. And I'm going to clear out the frames. So now if we check out the sweep state, it tells us, oh, we have to add some frames. And we exported a sprite sheet for the second state just to show you the difference. And we use the sprite editor to turn this into a multiple frame animation. So I'm going to go back in here, and now what I want to do is add all these frames to the second state. But if we were to try and select them all, we lose access to that inspector. So just remember, when you're teaching people how to use this, hit the little lock button there, and then we can grab all these guys and then drag it in, and we won't lose access to that inspector. Now when we run this, we'll see, this is a bug, ignore that. I'll fix that. But we'll see we have the sweep animation and the dance animation. And we could have it so we're having this dance animation, and then if it's set to Q, that means it's going to cue the next state at the end of the sequence. So there we go. Now that one jumped to the next state. So we could have that set to be something like, here, hold on. I'm just going to fix this little bug. Okay, sorry. Ignore that bug. Now when we want to have a state where, let's say, he sweeps and then jumps to the next state, we can go into this options and say play once, then cue next, and then we'll go, the next state will be dance. Okay. So now every time he cleans, he'll get back to dancing right when he's finished cleaning. One common task that we've had is having walk to the right animation, walk to the left, and to draw twice as many frames is a waste of time. So we can just use a flip to do that. So I'm going to duplicate this entry, and I'm going to call this dance to the left. And it's going to have an option called flip X on it. And I'll make another duplicate of sweeping, and I'll call this one sweep to the left. And we can have it return to the next state will be dance to the left. So you'll sweep to the left, dance to the left, sweep to the right, dance to the right. Okay, so now he's dancing. So we could say sweep, returns to dancing. Now we could say sweep to the left, he's dancing the other way. So we can switch between dancing to the left, dancing to the right, dance to the left, dance to the right. And if we do sweep to the left, he returns to dancing to the left. If you don't want to show this GUI, just hit that button and it goes away. And remember, if they're looking at the game in the game view, you're not going to see that user interface. You have to look at it in the scene view. Another thing that was kind of a common problem was billboarding. You have that billboard script, and it's just always kind of a annoying thing to teach. But I have it set so when you move the camera, it's always going to billboard to the camera, and that's built into the animation. But if you don't want it to do that, you can say under options, none. And now we move the camera, he's going to stay pointing the same direction. So depending on what you want to do with your sprites, you can have that option. So I want to show you another trick. If we create a 3D object, like for example, a cylinder, we can apply a animation to this tool. The workflow is almost identical, but there's some differences too. First thing is we're going to add this SpriteEZanimator, but select the texture type instead. And we're going to have to add a frame. And one difference here is that these frames are textures. So we can't take a sprite sheet that has a bunch of sprites on it. We have to take individual textures. This particular guy has sprites associated with these textures, but because they're exported as a PNG sequence, this will still work. So I'm going to grab that in here, and you can see these individual texture maps have been connected. Other problem here is that for the texture SpriteEZanimator, we have to have a material associated with it. And if this is grayed out, that's not going to work. So I need to make a new material. And a good material shader is unlit transparent. Sorry. And now we can see this is actually a 3D object with a texture applied to it. Now when we run this, it should animate. There. And the cool thing is you can set these tiling options here. In this case, it's going to scale. But if we were to set this wrap mode to repeat, you'd see here that now he's repeating across the model. And you can get certain shaders that will show the back side of the model too. But hopefully you'll have some fun with that. Let me know if you have any questions.